Hi there. On Friday, we celebrated Tea Day, International Tea Day. So I thought that perhaps we should try Loveblock tea, it's actually a wine, but made by Kim and Erica Crawford at their current venture, Loveblock, but made to replace the SO2 use the preservative in a white wine normally, with powdered green tea, so Camellia sinensis, the idea is that, as the SO2 would do, that prevents the oxidation of the delicate flavours and aromas in the wine, and keeps it nice and fresh for us. I mean, obviously, this is a wine that comes with a screw cap, so it's preserved from oxygen that way. I would say this is the 2019 vintage, so it's had 2 years in bottle, so this is a bit of a test for the process to see whether it actually keeps it nice and fresh. Quite appropriate that it's Kim Crawford as the winemaker here, given the fact that for many people his name as the brand Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc is sort of synonymous with classic New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, with that sort of passion fruit and guava fruit aromas jumping out of the glass at you, maybe some gooseberries and cut grass and nettles and those sort of classic Sauvignon Blanc aromas. So this is almost a test to see if green tea can work as well as a preservative. I mean, to be honest, preservatives in wine, just to mention quickly, levels of sulfur dioxide actually used to preserve wine are incredibly low. It's rare for people to have reactions to them. If you had very serious asthma, you might. But just to put that in context for you, legally a white wine can have 200 parts per million of sulfur in it, sulfur dioxide. In most cases, a bottled dry white wine will probably have less than 100 parts per million of sulfur in it. If you compare that to, say, sultanas, dried sultanas, they can start off at about 500 parts per million of sulfur dioxide, and sometimes go over 1,000 parts per million. So, by comparison, sulfur in wine is at a relatively low level. So, if you're getting headaches from a wine, it's actually far more likely to be from histamine reactions to do with the wine. But nonetheless, a good idea to reduce these. This particular wine is an organic wine. It's vegan friendly, so they're really trying to make this as approachable and natural as possible. Having said that, 2/3 of it were machine harvested, so it's not a sort of a completely artisan product. It's a single vineyard from their Woolshed vineyard, which is in the Awatere Valley, so a classic area of Marlborough for Sauvignon Blanc. So the wine itself, just to look at it there, hopefully you can see lovely sort of pale lemon yellow, maybe slightly straw colour. Giving it a sniff, very different sort of aroma to what I would normally be looking for with a Sauvignon Blanc. There's a, bizarrely, I'd almost sort of say slightly mineral note to it, although the suggestion is that the mineral's been replaced by something which is vegetable. You've got some slightly dried orangey aromas, perhaps green pea pod, almost a slight pepperiness, maybe even a hint of cinnamon or nutmeg or some sort of spice in there. On the palate, gosh, that's got really good fresh acidity. And that also helps preserve a wine. I mean, it's worth remembering that wine has these natural preservatives in its acid and its alcohol. The alcohol doesn't seem too warm. The label says it's 13.5%, but you know, it doesn't feel hot. Gosh, the acidity is really, it's fresh. It's almost sort of like ruby grapefruit sort of note to it. Real tang on the back there. On the palate, there's a sort of mid-weight, slight dryingness, although it doesn't feel sort of tannic. There's a sort of slightly oily, rounded, rich, ripe texture to the wine, and the flavours are quite restrained. There's not that sort of obvious sort of passion fruit guava note that you'd expect with a Sauvignon Blanc, but at the same time, again, there's tiny hints of that sort of green pea pod underneath. Flavours, because of the acidity, lasting really well. I certainly wouldn't say it's a classic New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, but actually, as a food wine, it's got such lovely acidity that's going to accompany a wide range of foods. It's quite neutral style. Would actually make it a nice backdrop to sort of a fleshy river fish or something like that. And the flavours last really well. I actually really like the fact that the Crawfords with Loveblock are trying to do something a little bit different with their Sauvignon Blancs. And I think this is an interesting wine. It's certainly one that I'd be happy to drink again. As I say, it's not a classic Sauvignon Blanc, but there's plenty of classic Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc around. So try some, enjoy some, and happy International Tea Day, everybody.